So encouraging.
Really enjoyed the session.
It was really helpful.
A lot of the things that I talk to my founders about, I heard a lot of from here, but also a lot of new things about different tactics to really work out the system, on the freestyle to how to really spend money the right way, the correct way. So really enjoyed the session. Appreciate it.
It was energizing. I loved how they were riffing off each other as well. I loved the individual storytelling, and overall I walk away now with lots of insight, lots of little nuggets, little quotes that will also inspire me.
I think the energy of Akeem talking about how it's about breaking rules. It's about breaking through. It's about out-innovating people. There's always going to be competition. It doesn't matter what you're working on, what marketplace, what type of audience. That it's really about outworking, outthinking, out-innovating, and doing everything you can for yourself. Being really honest with yourself about what are your strengths, and then hire your weaknesses. And I think that's really hard. Some of us just try and power through, and it's really critical to recognize everybody has weaknesses. It's okay to have them. How do you fix them?
There's so much energy in what Akeem said. There was so much life and vitality, and the stories that he spoke really resonated with me, and it was just so encouraging to be able to see someone who looks like you and started from zero, worked their way to a space that they're willing to give back.
What's up, everybody? How y'all feeling this morning? Y'all kind of quiet. Y'all need to get excited. We got a whole bunch of entrepreneurs in the room, right? Everyone here has a big dream. If you have a big dream, raise your hand. There's a couple hands not raised. We should all have our hands raised. And the reason I say like people in here have a big dream, like I had big dreams. I had nothing to start with though, right? I just had an idea. But the truth is that's all you need is an idea. And if I could have you go away with anything today is that what you have today is enough. Like when I started, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything about manufacturing. I didn't know anything about producing, know anything about patents, none of that stuff. But I was able to pick it up, and I was able to pick it up without having the money or the access or any of that type of stuff. You mentioned earlier about me getting on Shark Tank. The first time I didn't make it on the Shark Tank, and so I had to figure it out. But it all worked out because I simply just believed in myself. And so as you're trying to find the hack, like there is no blueprint. Your way is going to be different from her way, from his way, but your way is okay. And it'll work out if you keep going. So we'll get into a little bit more details, but I'm excited to be with you guys today, and I'm excited to see you guys go and do incredible things. Storytelling was one of the biggest hacks that I figured out. I didn't figure it out because I was good at storytelling though. I figured it out because I was bad at everything else, okay? Like social media wasn't working. Shopify store wasn't working. I was selling at a kiosk in the mall. Nothing was happening, okay? And as I mentioned before, I didn't make it on Shark Tank. And so I went back to this drawing board and I'm like, okay, I have all these weaknesses. I need some help. I got to figure something out. And for me, like when I didn't make it on the Shark Tank, I decided, okay, I'm going to find another celebrity investor. And well, it seems like DJ Khaled's got this event going on in Atlanta. Maybe I'll just show up there and see if I can get him to invest. So I go down to do a pitch competition. I don't make it into the pitch competition because I didn't realize it was closed. But there was this music competition, and I just said, well, I took Mr. Carpenwitz's music appreciation class. Like, why don't I just enter the music competition as a rap artist? I'll rap about my business, and I'll get an investment from these artists. And for some reason, that worked. Okay? I go down, I get these guys all excited. They want to join the story. They fly me out to LA, and LA I meet Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg loves the product. We end up heading to Shark Tank because they made a phone call to Shark Tank to say, you got to get this guy on the show. And I tell you this because what I realized was that Shark Tank wasn't just interested in the product. They were interested in the story. That journey was something that they wanted to invest in, but it wasn't just them. When I needed to go and find a marketing director, and I can't pay what a marketing director needs, I'm able to recruit someone because of the story that I'm telling them. They want to be a part of the journey. And I love what you said earlier, Emily, about it's not about a destination. This is a journey that you're going on, and if your only focus is on your destination, you're probably not going to get there. So you got to take that joy in that journey. And as I started telling these stories, man, things got crazy. I was able to raise funding. I was able to get, we had no business being in Target. We were a tiny little company. We weren't making anything. Our factory wasn't even certified to be a Target, okay? But they still allowed us to do it because they said, hey, this kid's going out here, got Snoop Dogg all excited. He's doing all this stuff. Like, let's help him out. Let's be a part of his story because we like it as it is. And everyone in this room has incredible stories. And you want to make sure that you use that, whether you're trying to get investor dollars, you're trying to get customers, whether you're trying to recruit people to your calls. Breaking rules when it's your moment and your time is crucial. When I didn't get on that stage because the pitch competition was closed, I went to a comedy show that was right before it. And I was convinced the comic to let me on the stage to perform my rap because I got disqualified out the competition. And that was the way I was able to break through. And because I kept breaking rules, they're like, man, we should invite this kid to LA. He's great. But in my face, they're like, stop breaking the rules. And so I think that when it's your opportunity and you have one shot to get in front of the person that you need to get, some of you guys are have that opportunity right outside these doors. You better run down that hallway after Mark Cuban and you better figure out how to get in front of him because it's your shot. Go for it. Excellent question. When I first created my product, Flipstick, when you don't have a lot of money and you're doing, particularly when you're in the manufacturing for a consumer product, where are you going to go? Amazon. No, where are you going to produce it? China. And here's the thing. If you go to China, are they going to steal it? Yes, it's going to get stolen. However, if they can steal the technology for AirPods and produce them in 2 weeks, what chance do you really get? So here's what I did. First, no one in the US or in Europe or any major markets, these retailers, they're not going to knock you off if you go and get protection. So the first thing I did was I went and filed my own patent. I did not go pay an attorney to do it. I got on YouTube, I looked it up, I filed the patent, and that was before I ever put it out there. In America, we're a first to file country, so the first one to file it is who owns it. And what's unique about other markets like Europe is if you put your product out there and it is publicly available and you don't register it, it becomes the public domain in those other countries. Only in America do you get to file it later, but you won't be able to file in these other, particularly in the European market. So first thing I did was get that protection. But here's the other thing. You have to just out-innovate your competitors. If you have a good idea, it will be copied. They will either figure out a way around your patent or they'll just blatantly rip it off. It happened to us. And so you just have to keep innovating. But to me, that's a good thing because it creates competition. If you don't have competition with yourself, you can't get any better. And that's why you see companies like Apple, even though they got the best attorneys in the world, new product every single year because they know they can out-innovate their competitors. And so that to me is the true strategy. It's the only one that really works. So, when I was thinking about, okay, where am I going to spend money, where won't I? For a long time, I didn't spend no money. I just was like, I will do everything myself. The marketing, I'll figure it out. I'll make the website. I'll do all the design work. I'll do everything. And at a certain point, you're stretched all the way thin. And you realize that the barrier to growth is you. And so when I was strategically thinking, okay, well, how do I grow past, a few $100,000 a year when I'm the only full-time employee, I had to say, okay, well, what am I worst at? That because I don't like to do it, we're limited. And there was two areas this is just my personal, right? There's two areas for me that I struggle with. One, I didn't like marketing. I was great at sales, but I didn't like to market. I didn't want to make social media content. I didn't want to figure out how Facebook ads and Instagram ads work. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. So the first thing I had to do was find someone who would take over my marketing, full stop, own it, and be able to really propel us forward. The other thing that I absolutely hated doing was all the logistics. I remember there was times when when you're an entrepreneur, sometimes you get sad, you're depressed, you don't want to get up in the morning, no one's going to tell you to get up in the morning. I remember there was times where I would get sales on the website and then I wouldn't ship them because I'm like, I already made the money. Now I'm going to have to pay UPS for the shipping. And I just wouldn't want to do it. And so the next thing I had to do was get someone that could come in and be my operations manager. Because it wasn't just moving the sales out the door, it was who's going to contact China to make sure the manufacture's done and then organize the shipping and then make sure the retailer has it. And who's going to manage all of that? And so those were my weaknesses, and that's where I chose to invest. And when I first did it, I was terrified because I'm like, I remember I hired my marketing guy, and I'm someone, I would shoot my own video, I would get in Photoshop, I do everything. This guy couldn't do anything. He didn't know how Photoshop worked. He didn't know how to edit a video. He didn't know any of that stuff. But every time I gave him a task, I said, I need this done. Yep, got it. We need customer service fixed. Got it. Brand new website. Okay, yeah, no problem. I want 50 new activations a week. Okay, yeah, no problem. He just kept adding them on. And I was like, whoa, he's managing like 100 different people to do 100 different things. And if I had to reach out to 100 people to do marketing, we'd have no marketing. It just wouldn't happen. I'm not answering the emails. I'm not talking to them. I can't micromanage them, nothing. And so it's one of those things where it's like, I can't do this, but someone else, they have the skill to do it. And I didn't even realize that it was a skill. I was like, this guy can't do anything. I was like, no, he's doing everything and he never gets overwhelmed. This is incredible. And so I think hire your weaknesses, and that's where you spend your money. If you're not good at it, hire them. And the other thing that I learned too, you get what you pay for. If you got an attorney, cost you $300 for a patent, you have a $300 patent, which means you won't have a patent, okay? And when I learned, like sometimes you got to spend a little bit more. I remember we found a broker to get us into retail. And I told the guys I had been burned in the past. I'm like, I'm not giving you any money up front. I won't do it. They said, okay, but you're going to have to give us 10%. 10% is high in the industry. The average is 5%. But when I gave them 10%, these guys were the best. Like they knew everyone at Target. They knew they knew all the executives at all the different retailers. And when I decided to give them that extra bit, not only did they get us in the retailers, they found a new manufacturer. They ended up investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in our business because they saw how much we were growing. They ended up doing all this extra work for us because these guys are the best of it. And it cost me to get that. But if I had gone with someone who was going to be less expensive, none of the other progress would have happened. So when you have someone that's really good and you know it, but it's going to cost you, spend the extra little bit on it because you get what you pay for. To her point, that's exactly what I did. Before I started doing that, I won about $150,000 in grants and free money first before I went and I was able to pay people. The one thing I want to touch on that Emily said, right, is those experts. You said it too. One of the reasons I was able to get what I paid for was I had an incredible mentor. Before I had my mentor, sometimes you take a shot and you end up with someone, you give them a whole bunch of money and they leave you in the dirt. And it's the worst feeling in the world. You feel like you got scammed. But if you find a mentor that believes in you, they're doing it because they just care, like and most importantly, they've done what it is that you're trying to do. We ain't talking about your mama. I know she love you. But if she ain't done what you're trying to do, like, not gonna be the best mentor. But if you are an ag tech and you find someone that exited for $1 billion in ag tech and they're your mentor, you're going to be able to avoid so many mistakes and you're going to find the right people. When they say, hey, they're worth it, you'll believe them because you know they've done it. Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, raise your hand if you're a side hustler. You got something on the side, you got a full-time job. Raise your hand. Okay, and then raise your hand if you're doing your business full-time, no other safety nets, you're doing it full-time. Okay, great. So I was the latter. Right, and she was better. I had no plan, y'all. I was just out here, okay. And but I knew that I didn't have the capacity to be a side hustler. I was like, when I get home, I'm exhausted. So when I left my job, and just a little background, I was a college dropout. I was making like $10 an hour. Eventually worked my way up and saved up nearly $100,000. And so once I had that safety net, you mentioned safety net, then I felt comfortable because I'm like, I got a couple of years of savings that I can rest on. I don't have to make my money up front. And one of the things I think is super important with entrepreneurship is you got to be able to take risks. You got to be able to do crazy things and come up with concepts. And if you got to worry about the bill you're paying next week, you can't take many risks. If you only got 3 months to figure something out before you got to go back to work, before you're going to give up on it, you'll give up too soon. And so I think having that runway is huge. And the other thing is just keep it real tight. Don't spend money on stuff you don't have to. And if you're in something that's very advanced, you're gonna need a lot of dollars up front. But if you have something where you're bootstrapping, just don't spend your money and focus on your sales. Not sales aren't marketing. It's get it to the customer. And the last thing, everyone thinks, particularly in my field, it's all about online ads. That's the only way to do it. It's not the only way to do it, okay? Whatever your strength is, go for it. You're at a conference, I told you in the beginning a story of a conference where I made a lot of money because I came to the conference and made things happen, but it wasn't the only time. Another time I was right here in Austin. This was after I was on Shark Tank. And we were doing pretty good by then, but Mark Cuban was there, chased him down, and asked him a question. Whole thing went viral. And the audience that day was Amazon. They're seeing me go back and forth with Mark Cuban saying, why didn't you invest in me? Look at me now. The crowd's going crazy. Amazon, a few weeks later, they just wrote me a grant for $15,000. Never applied. They gave me an advisor. They said, hey, we love what you're doing. I get a text message from someone that works at Amazon. They're like, hey, you're in the training. I'm like, what do you mean I'm in the training? I'm nobody. Like, nope, you're in the training. And Black Friday comes around. Oh, yeah, we want to feature you on Black Friday, on Amazon on Black Friday. All because I was at a conference. Like, I didn't know about Amazon ads. Not really. So there's no one way to do it. And when you're on a shoestring, be creative and go for it. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Some of the moves will be wrong. It's okay. It's okay.